Welcome back to another exciting episode of Southern Sorcery. This is part 3 of our breakdowns of the Duskmourn Commander set, and this one is for
Endless Punishment.
This is the Rakdos, the black and red color commander deck, and this has the big bad from the whole story of Duskmourn. Valgavoth, Horror of Souls. I can't say it. Horror of Souls. Before we get into it, I want to say thank you so much for everyone's awesome attention to the last 2 videos. We've got a ton of responses, likes, comments, people that want these decks, and why not? We're giving them away for free. Bum, 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 bum. All you have to do is like, subscribe, comment on the video, let us know like what you like about the deck tech, what you might change yourself as far as like an addition, subtraction, maybe a cool card we didn't mention. And then if you're new, watching us for the first time, please just comment and say hi. We've been doing this lately on a lot of our other videos. We just want to know like who our new audience is, so that way we can get a better feel for maybe different types of people that are reaching out. So it always helps us get ideas for content and then just connect with our audience, because YouTube is a vast sea of people, and so we like to say thanks for those that spend the time with us. It means a lot. So like, subscribe, hit all the buttons. You'll see the little click 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 right there. Just follow along, click those buttons. It does a lot to help us out. Let's get into it. I'm excited for this. Again, you can win these for free. We're going to pay for shipping. And then a little side note, if you are an international person outside of the contiguous US, let us know, because shipping costs are out the roof right now for international shipping. But we still want to take care of you if you're selected as a winner.
There you go. Thank you, sir. There you go. There you go.
We're going to hook you up with a gift card so you can buy it locally, hopefully at an LGS, not through Amazon or something like that. Not that anything's wrong with Amazon, but we love to support our local game stores. But without further ado, let's get into this Endless Punishment. Like I was talking about, Valgavoth, the Horror of Souls, I said it better that time, is the face commander for this deck. He is a legendary creature, Elder Demon, for 2 and Rakdos, a black and a red, for a 4/4 with flying and ward, pay 2 life. So that means to target this creature, you have to pay 2 life before, or in addition to the other costs that you're paying for what you're using to target this creature with. But he says whenever an opponent loses life for the first time during each of their turns, put a +1/+1 counter on Valgavoth, Horror of Souls. That is such a mouthful. And draw a card. Pretty cool. Very on theme for Rakdos. This is very much a group slug type of build where you're just trying to drain everybody as painfully as possible, which makes sense because this deck's all about pain. The alternative commander, which I think is probably everybody's favorite that I've seen thus far, in this deck specifically, is the Lord of Pain. Very cool artwork on this card. I love all the screens. Very spooky, kind of like poltergeisty in a lot of ways. But the Lord of Pain is 3 black and red for a legendary creature, human assassin, that is a 5/5 with menace, and your opponents can't gain life. So just cut that out. No life gain. Whenever a player casts their first spell each turn, choose another target player. This is such a cool mechanic. The Lord of Pain deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to the chosen player. I love the chaos behind that. That is so much fun. Just to, not really pick, I don't know. It's just like, you're going to play a big spell because I'm going to ping somebody, get a little bit of collusion, a little bit of chaos. I like it. I dig it. So I think that's why everyone is running with the Lord of Pain as they're probably like method before this commander deck. But without further ado, let's also get into the new cards, as well as the archenemy scheme cards that come with this deck as well. But first off, we've got Fear of Burning Alive, which is a terrible fear. This is 4 and 2 red for an enchantment creature, Nightmare. When Fear of Burning Alive enters, it deals 4 damage to each opponent, which makes sense. You're just trying to deal as much damage to everybody as you can. And it also has a mechanic called Delirium. Whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, if there are 4 more card types among cards in your graveyard, Fear of Burning Alive deals that amount of damage to target creature that players control. Pretty cool. Like, that's an enchantment creature, so that Delirium's kind of the enchantment side of it, but it's a 4/4. And then when it ETBs, it has that effect. So very on theme for what this deck's trying to do, is just trying to hurt you, right? Endless Punishment. It makes so much sense because this deck is all about the pain. After that, we have a Barb Flare Gremlin, just with this nasty flaming whip that just is there to torture you, I guess, forever. It has, for 3 and a red, it's a 3/2 with first strike and haste. Whenever a player taps a land for mana, if Barbed Flare Gremlin is tapped, that player adds 1 mana of any type that land produced. Then that land deals 1 damage to that player. So it's like a little bit of incentive to, like, yeah, tap your lands. You know, it's okay to hurt yourself. That's what we're here for. Just lean into the pain. Lean into the pain. Another good card. I like the fit that it has. Following that, we have Gleeful Arsonist. I laugh because the artwork, man, she is just digging all the fire. And then the flavor text, let the world burn. It's like an evil Chandra. Gleeful Arsonist for 2 and a red is a human wizard that is 1/2 and says whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, Gleeful Arsonist deals damage equal to its power to that player. And then it has Undying. When this creature dies, if it had no +1/+1 counters on it, return to the battlefield under its owner's control with a +1/+1 counter on it. So it gets to come back. Again, more on theme, and it hurts people for casting non-creature spells. So it's like, you better cast creature spells. If you don't, I'm going to keep hurting you. And then you can make it bigger and bigger and hurt them more and more. After that, we have kind of a similar card in the fact that it has Persist versus Undying. Persist and Undying are very similar mechanics. One is just a +1/+1 counter. The other one's a -1/-1 counter. But Persistent Constrictor, this is a zombie snake, which is equally terrifying. More terrifying than a regular snake, I guess, is a zombie snake. 4 and a black for 5/3. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, they lose 1 life, and you put a -1/-1 counter on up to 1 target creature they control. And then when this creature dies, this is the persist mechanic. If it had no -1/-1 counters on it, return to the battlefield under its owner's control with a -1/-1 counter on it. So literally just the exact opposite of Undying, with a +1/+1 counter and a -1/-1 counter. Still very relevant because, you know, they get at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, they lose life, and you get to put a -1. I mean, it's just the slow burn. It's just that group slug. It fits, but man, it gets out of control quick. The next card is Sadistic Shellgame. This is a sorcery with terrifying artwork on a giant, like, clown, like Hellraiser almost type, you know, with the skinned alive face. Like, the artwork on this set just, it's creepy, but it's good. Sadistic Shellgame for 4 and a black is a sorcery that says starting with the next opponent in turn order, each player chooses a creature you don't control, destroy the chosen creatures. So it's like, I'm gonna make you make some choices here to destroy some stuff. Pretty interesting. I like it. Following that card, we have Grab the Prize. It's like a clown face wrapped in barbed wire and razors. Very Saw game, you know. It's even got the little swirls like the Saw puppet had. So this is very Saw.
I want to play a game.
You know, the movie Saw artwork. Grab the Prize is 1 in red for sorcery. It says an additional cost to cast this spell. Discard a card. Get to draw 2 cards. If the discarded card wasn't a land card, Grab the Prize deals 2 damage to each opponent. So pretty cool that you can still ping everybody with it, and then you get some card advantage. After that, we have Seance Board. So just like the little Ouija board, Seance Board is for 2. It's an artifact with Morbid mechanic, which Morbid says at the beginning of each end step, if a creature died this turn, which is always the Morbid, like something has to die and then something happens. And so what that something is if a creature died this turn, put a soul counter on Seance Board. Then you can tap to add X mana of any one color, where X is the number of soul counters on Seance Board. But you can only spend this mana to cast instant, sorcery, demon, and spirit spells. Fits this deck pretty good because you got a ton of like demons. I don't know if the other were spirits, and then obviously a lot of instants and sorceries are in this deck. So it's on theme. It's a good little mana dork that can do some stuff with the Morbid mechanic. Plus you're killing stuff constantly, so there should be a really easy way to get a lot of soul counters on Seance Board. After that, we have our first enchantment room for this deck. This one is, there's, you know, like I said, each enchantment room has 2 doors. The first door / room is Spiked Corridor. After that, you have the Torture Pit. So 2 places you probably don't want to ever be. But Spiked Corridor is 3 in a red. This says when you unlock this door, create 3/1/1 red devil creature tokens with when this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. And remember, with these, you can cast it for either side, and that's unlocking that first part immediately, and then on a later turn or at a later time, you can unlock another door at sorcery speed, which is pretty cool. Again, I've said this on all the other videos. I'll say it again. I really like the room mechanic. I think it's a neat little like card type. The enchantments, I dig it. And then the other side is the Torture Pit for also 3 in a red. It says if a source you would control, or if source you control would deal non-combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage +2 instead. So all this stuff that we've said, you know, on their upkeep, it takes 1 damage. Now it's dealing, 1 plus 2, so it's dealing 3 total damage. It's pretty good. I mean, it's for this type of deck, it's great. And then for my Perforos deck, this is an MVP type of card, because one side makes a bunch of creatures for Perforos to do some damage, and this side makes that damage even more. So just a little selfish side note for myself to remember to put this card in my deck. After that, we have Star Athlete, which there's always a Star Athlete in a typical horror movie, right? Like the guy that can run, and he's just an athlete in the high school movies, and usually always dies, but they usually always die doing something heroic or dumb. It just depends. But Star Athlete is 1 and 2 reds. He has Menace. He's a 3/2, and whenever Star Athlete attacks, choose up to 1 target non-land permanent. Its controller may sacrifice it. If they don't, Star Athlete deals 5 damage to that player. So it's like, you want to keep it, maybe not keep it. You want to take some damage, or do I get to destroy something? Then also has a Blitz mechanic, which is a unique mechanic. The Blitz cost is 3 and a red. If you cast this spell for its Blitz cost, it gains haste, and when this creature dies, draw a card, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So if you draw a card, and you can still bring it in with haste. You can still use it as attack trigger, because that's what it's doing. So cool way to blitz something out and get that draw a card effect at the end of the end step. Following the Star Athlete, we have Suspended Sentence. This is a unique card because for 3 and a black, it's an instant. It says destroy target creature an opponent controls. That player loses 3 life. Exile Suspended Sentence with 3 time counters on it. So instead of going in the yard, it gets exiled, it gets suspended. And it also has suspended itself. You can suspend it naturally for 1 and a black with 3 time counters on it. So essentially it just recurs over and over again as it gets cast. So it's like a destroy target creature and burn spell on a stick that you get to do every 3 turns. That's pretty cool. I like it. It's unique. Those are the new cards. After that, it's just getting into the schemes. But let me know, that they didn't do a ton of new cards. I think it's because they had the schemes, so that there's 10 to 11-ish cards in the commander deck. I think maybe 8 or so of them are specific to the commander decks, and then they have a couple of those that you can pull from the boxes, like the play boosters and the collector boxes as well. But let me know your thoughts on those new cards. Let's just jump into the scheme cards here. I do have to make a side note. I apologize. I read these same schemes I think it was for the Amanatu deck. So this is kind of a repeat. These are actually meant for the Amanatu deck, are meant for the Lord of Pain and the Endless Punishment deck, but the other ones were not. So I did make a little bit of an error. It's just I had 2 screens pulled up. It was my fault, so I apologize. I will update that deck list, so on the other video you can at least see the new scheme cards. But this is going to be a repeat from that. If these sound familiar, that's why, but we're going to go over them again. It says an ongoing scheme remains face up until it is abandoned, which is a specific mechanic for archenemy. Creatures you control get +2/+2 and have fear. They can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and or black creatures. At the beginning of your upkeep, abandon this scheme unless you discard a card or pay 3 life. So again, like you see here, these schemes are specifically meant to just all their creatures have +2/+2 and have fear. Could you imagine a token deck or just an elf deck that they're using and that mechanic's out there? It's just wild. The next scheme we have is Reality is Mine to Control. This is another ongoing scheme. An ongoing scheme remains face up until it is abandoned. Whenever you cast a spell, you may abandon this scheme. If you do, copy that spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy. So again, just a way to abuse a specific spell that's going to pop off. Let's copy it because I've got this scheme face up, and I can abandon it just to have a copy of that spell. Just again, you'll see that all these cards are super powerful. The next one is You Exist Only to Amuse. This is our first normal scheme. Whenever you set this scheme into motion, this is the mechanic for archenemy, choose 1. If you control 6 or more lands, you get to choose both instead, though. Create 3 1/1 red devil creature tokens with when this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. And then the next one is until your next turn, creatures your opponents control have base power and toughness 1/1 and lose all abilities. Busted, I'm telling you, the archenemy is going to be super powerful. After that, we have I Call for Slaughter, another scheme. And whenever you set this scheme in motion, create 3 1/1 red devil creature tokens with when this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. They gain haste until end of turn. If a source you control would deal damage this turn, it deals that much damage +1 instead. Just more shenanigans. I like it. Plus the artwork on this, they did a really good job. It's very on theme for the horror set. After that, we have another card called I Will Savor Your Agony, which a lot of these, I mean, it's just all scary stuff, so that's why all these are so scary, or the titles of them are so ominous. I Will Savor Your Agony is a scheme that says when you set this scheme in motion, choose 3. You may choose the same mode more than once, so you've got 3 options here. Destroy target creature, target player draws a card, or target player gains 5 life. That's great. I mean, you want to draw 3 cards, you want to blow 3 things up, or you want to gain a bunch of life. You have the ability to do so, and you can mix and match. After that, we have Your Nightmares Are Delicious. Man, that's just that sounds like a horror movie. When you set this scheme in motion, each opponent who has more than 5 cards in hand discards cards equal to the difference. Then, if fewer than 3 cards were discarded this way, you draw 3 cards. So it's a win-win, really. Like, either you're just making everyone draw, like, you know, discard down, or you're going to be able to draw some cards with it. Just more powerful stuff. Then the last card, and probably my favorite artwork on all of it, is No Secret is Hidden from Me. I love the artwork, kind of how they did like the ink blot. This scheme says when you set this scheme in motion, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Then if you control 6 or more lands, repeat this process once. So you just kind of revolve it over again. Again, all these cards are meant to make the archenemy player a single threat that others have to take down in tandem. So good, I like them. Let me know what your thoughts are on the scheme cards, and if you're going to play archenemy, you gotta at least play at least a couple of games with all these new cards coming out. So keep me posted. Let me know how it goes and what your plans are. You can mix and match these. A lot of these scheme cards are made specifically for this Endless Punishment deck, you know, obviously with the pain, making the devils that die and deal 1 damage. But again, yeah, let me know what your plans are for archenemy specifically. Next up, we have our additions and subtractions. Let's say how we made this deck slightly better. This one, I didn't make this is probably the fewest cuts I've made for a deck thus far, but I do want to get into it, and you know, some of the cuts I made, I do want to give a shout out again. Like, they made this deck really well. Like, it was hard to make a lot of cuts because a lot of stuff in it just fit. There weren't just like some of the obvious cuts. Everything in it, you know, really fit the theme of the you know, the slug effect of like just causing damage and then benefiting off of things having damage done to them. So I didn't make a ton of cuts. I did make more expensive additions because, you know, we're making fewer of them, so we went quality over quantity with this approach. But my first subtraction was Rakdos, Lord of Riots. I love Rakdos. I run an Eldrazi EDH deck with him, and he's so much fun. But even though it is dictated on playing him for cheap based on loss of life and the reduction, I didn't think he quite was like specific, even though Rakdos is perfect for any Rakdos deck because it's Rakdos, right? Just makes sense. But for that, I added another card new from the set called Razorkin Needlehead. And this is definitely from Hellraiser, like, you know, it's too on theme, but especially the artwork. But this is for 2 red. This is a human assassin, and Razorkin Needlehead has first strike during your turn. Whenever an opponent draws a card, Razorkin Needlehead deals 1 damage to them. Very relevant because people love to draw on Commander, and that's just more damage you're pinging. That's why I chose to remove Rakdos, because he's not really causing the damage. He does benefit from it, and he does do reductions, but I would rather just add more pieces that cause more chaos on each turn, and especially drawing cards. People try to break that mechanic so much that this card can really make them pay for it. So that's why I added it. Following that, I decided to cut Massacre Girl. Massacre Girl is great for like trying to wipe the board effectively with -1/-1, but I would rather have Sulfim Mayhem Dominus. This is the Phyrexian Horror from the All Will Be One sets. This I don't know, for this type of deck just makes too much sense. For 2 and 2 red, this is a Phyrexian Horror 5/4. It says, if a source you control would deal non-combat damage, which we're doing a lot of, to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals double that damage to that player or permanent instead. And then you can pay 1 and 2 Phyrexian, which means you can either pay red or 2 life. Discard 2 cards, put an indestructible counter on Sulfim Mayhem Dominus, so makes it very hard to get rid of because you can quickly give it indestructible if needed, and then it doubles that damage that we're doing, you know, for the non-combat damage. So just made way too much sense to add, and not terribly expensive either. 10 to 11 bucks. After that, a fun card that I enjoy from Baldur's Gate, we added it, but we took out Tectonic Giant, who does pay off a little bit with like getting damage dealt to it and attacking. But again, I think this Rug of Smothering is what we added. I think it's just a better fit. Rug of Smothering is an artifact creature construct for 3 generic mana. It's a 1/3 that can fly, just like the Magic Carpet. But it says, whenever a player casts a spell, they lose 1 life for each spell they've cast this turn. So I just think that compounds the damage, and it does affect you as well because it is player. But a lot of times you can just kind of set your pieces and it's just set and forget. You're just letting everybody else kind of like have to keep up and like trudge through this amount of damage for drawing cards, for playing creatures, for playing non-creature spells. That's really the theme and overall like way to win with this deck. So we added that card. Plus it's a Magic Carpet. How fun is that? Following that, we got rid of Florian, the Valderan Scion, but we added Zozu the Punisher. This card is definitely one to deal a lot of damage. For 1 and 2 red, this is a Goblin Warrior that is a 2/2. Because whenever a land comes into play, Zozu the Punisher deals 2 damage to that land's controller. So this again does affect you as a player, but you should be okay because a lot of your damage stuff that's ongoing really just affects your opponent. So like even though you're occasionally going to take damage, you're going to benefit from all of these being out, and hopefully with that benefit be able to like take people out a lot faster than any of this really ever affecting you. Just too good of a card not to add because it's just like people are going to have to play lands, so they're going to take 2 damage for it, right? Following that, one of my favorite cards, and it's probably a game-ending card. I did remove Light Up the Stage, and that's because I wanted to add Torment of Hellfire. This card's just a game ender and a group slug mechanic because once you get everybody so low, it just either decimates their board that they can't recover, or they just die because of the life loss. But Torment of Hellfire is an X cost, so it has X black. So basically the X just dictates like how much you can pay into it. So if you got 10 total mana, 2 of that's black, so X would then represent 8, right? So 8 plus 2 equals 10. But it's a sorcery that says repeat the following process X times. So in our hypothetical, we said 8 times. Each opponent loses 3 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. Just bringing the pain with this card. I love it. It's such a good game-ending card. If it resolves, typically, like even people can somehow survive it, they're left so either low on life or just crippled with resources that you're able to win the game. It's just a bomb, and in this deck makes sense because all the pain you're causing, you should be in a good spot whenever you get to cast it to hopefully win the game with it. So that's why I added it, because it's a game ender. Next card, we decided to get rid of Blood Pact, and instead we added Price of Progress. It's an instant for 1 and a red. It's a great card. I don't think it sees enough play because in today's world there's so many non-basic lands, but it's a 1 and a red for an instant that says Price of Progress deals damage to each player equal to twice the number of non-basic lands that player controls. Wow. Like there could be instances where people have up to like 10, and that's 20 damage. Like it just depends. A lot of times like monocolored decks you'll see more basics of that chosen color, but gosh, you'd get into like 3 to 5 color decks, like they're gonna have a lot of non-basics because they have to fix that mana to get multiple like avenues to like fix their mana. This card's great. It can do a lot of damage, and it's very sneaky when it comes out because it just hits you all of a sudden and you're like, oh my all my double lands here got me. It's good. It's a good card. Makes sense. I think it was just an easy add for me as well. Following that, we have Rolling Vortex. For that, I did get rid of Enchanter's Bane, which is just basically enchantment removal, but Roiling Vortex, I should say. For 1 and a red, this is another enchantment, but it says at the beginning of each player's upkeep, it deals 1 damage to them. So again, this is going to affect you, but it's affecting everybody else. And then it says whenever a player casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast that spell, Rolling Vortex deals 5 damage to that player. So all of those free spells, they're going to pay a price for it. And then the kicker too, if you want to stop somebody, you can pay red at any moment, and your opponents can't gain life this turn. I love it. It's like in response before you do all this, so you can't gain life this turn. It's pretty fun. I like it. It's just very flavorful and on theme for what you're trying to do with this deck. So another ad, I thought that just made perfect sense. And the next card we have is the Ankh. I think it's Anka, A-N-K-H, however you want to pronounce that, of Mishra. This is an artifact that's been around for a hot minute. I didn't realize how expensive they were. They actually have a pretty good price. I think it's just because like how good it is. It's what we removed for it, I'm sorry, is a Mask of Grizzlebrand. Which is a decent card, but this artifact fits it perfectly. But it says whenever a land comes into play, it deals 2 damage to that land's controller. Just same thing as Zozu as well. So just more on theme for just adding pain, right? And artifact removal is not terribly hard, but creature removal is the easiest. So Zozu is easier to get rid of versus this artifact. So you know, that's why you want to double up with it, and that's probably why it's a little more financially expensive, because artifacts are, you know, like I said, it's easy. There's so many ways to get rid of creatures. There are artifacts too, but not, you know, it is fewer, so it does make it more difficult. And then our last card we decided to add, we took out one land, Temple of Malice. Again, I always just take out, I'm sorry for always taking temples out. I just don't like the tap lands. Scrying is good, but like, it just feels bad to play tap lands because you feel so far behind sometimes. But Underworld Dreams is what we added instead. Underworld Dreams is great. It's 3 black pips. That's a little bit difficult, but in a Rakdos deck, like, you're going to have access to black mana, so it shouldn't be as hard. It's an enchantment that says whenever an opponent draws a card, Underworld Dreams deals 1 damage to that player. So just more on theme for what we're trying to do, just trying to hurt people. But that's it. You know, that was only what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That was 9 cards I decided to add, and those 9 cards were $49.97. So I was right there at the budget, and it was because, you know, like I said, some of those cards are expensive. The most expensive one was Torment of Hellfire, and then the Sulfim. Both of those cards were like $26 combined. So that's half my budget right there in just 2 cards. Let me know what your thoughts are, what you would add. I'm interested to hear everybody's thoughts here. I thought this deck's, you know, it's very streamlined, probably the easiest to play, just because you're just really setting cards down and letting people like just take damage for what they're doing. So set it and forget it type mentality. It's very Rakdosy. They did a great job with being on theme with, you know, that color set, red black, just the chaos of it, the damage that everyone has to go through. I'm excited to see this deck get played. I think Lord of the Pain is going to be the face commander most people run with. Not to say that Valgaroth is not, you know, an option, but I think Lord of the Pain is just that dude for this type of deck. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Again, just to if you want to win this deck, just comment what you like, what you might change. You know, if you like really liked what I did, you can just make like a comment on that. Just something thoughtful. Don't make like a comment like, hey, you know, like, I don't know if that'll win or not. But again, thank you so much for all the support. We really appreciate it. Thank you to all the patrons that are appearing on screen now. So really appreciate all those people. You're the real MVPs. If you're interested in becoming a patron, all of our Patreon tiers are open right now. Do a ton of box breaks for discounted prices. So if you're into cracking packs and want to see some packs cracked on video, we do that for you. And then I take care of all the shipping for you. I promise these are cheaper than you'll get them anywhere else, the cards that we offer, the packs. So check that out. Let me know what you think. Join our Discord so we can talk about Magic and get some games in on Spell Table. Maybe meet up at a convention or something like that. We're getting ready to head to DreamHack here in a couple weeks in Atlanta. So those are some of the updates we have. Again, just like, subscribe, all that free stuff that doesn't cost you anything, but it means a lot to us.
Come on. Come on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, sure. All right. Why not?
But I really do appreciate it. Thanks, guys, so much for watching. I hope everyone has a good time watching this video, and good luck to all the people that are competing to win the deck. We love doing these giveaways. It's just a way to give back to the community and have fun with it while we're doing it. So until the next time, stay safe, make good decisions, and we'll catch you on the next video. Bye.